Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Frankly Speaking on Fridays podcast. I am your host, Frank Pador. It is 4 o'clock, almost exactly. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight, Sunlight, not New York, but is New York time. It is the last Friday of the month. It is April 28th. 2023, and yes, I know, I'm as surprised as you. I'm actually going to record and post an FSOF podcast on Friday, on the same day that it has been recorded. The stars have aligned, more or less. Hi, hello. As you can tell from my voice, I'm still recovering from surgery, which was a week ago. And I know that I said that I would have a podcast last week. That didn't happen, so sorry about that. I will do what I can to make a podcast out of this. I don't know how long or how much it's going to be. Just because even as I talk right now, there's a lot's happening to my nose. And talking, I can actually feel it like towards the front of my nose is like agitating it and it's making me want to sneeze. But I also know that I need to talk just because my voice hasn't always been there, but I'll get to that in a moment. Yes, it is episode 55 of the SFOF podcast on this 28th of April. Hello, how are you? What's going on? How's the past 2 weeks been for you? Hopefully a little bit better than me. Have you been trying to enjoy the good weather that's kind of been going about? Kind of. It's dipped here a little bit in Indiana, but, it is what it is. But I hope that you are doing well. You are up and about and you're going to work, or you're looking for that job, or you're reading that book, you're going to that workout session, you're taking your dog on a walk every day. Let's see, what else you're working your way through finals right now. Yeah, graduation is coming up, May. My sister's one of them. Yeah, it's big stuff. It's good stuff. If you're graduating, good job. Congratulations, you're nearly there. Just study, cram, whatever it takes in order for you to pass, graduate, get that piece of paper, or you're one step closer to getting that piece of paper. All good things. But you can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. Update that resume. Get it going. Find that job. But yeah, you can do it. I believe in you. I will be coughing throughout this podcast. And I will be taking numerous sips of drinks. Speaking of sips of drinks, as always, I commemorate these podcasts with a shot. And that's something else that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to try and do a full shot. I don't know how well it's going to go. I've had very limited amount of alcohol for this past week, which my liver is thankful for, but yeah, it's been difficult. So, as always, here is to you, dear fellow listener. Here is to me, asshole in the room with a microphone, and here is to episode 55. Oh, God. If you also hear my sniffles, then yeah, that's also going to be constant throughout the podcast. I cannot help it. And I will tell you exactly why. So, I don't have an article. I don't really have things planned out for this podcast either, just because, again, I don't know how long my voice is going to last for. I don't know, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot that I'm not sure that I am able to do. So, I'm just going to rant about the surgery and about everything that happened. And most importantly, I'm going to tell you what you can do if you are within a similar situation. Now, I've had literally now a handful of surgeries. Literally. I don't remember what my first one was. Oh, yes, I do. It was eye surgery. I had eye surgery in my left eye because one muscle, I guess, was stronger than the other, so I was seeing double. And in order for me not to see double, I had to tilt my head. So they weakened that muscle so that it was the same strength as my right eye, so that I didn't have to tilt my head in order to see singular. Because that was weird. So then that happened, and then I had my wisdom teeth removed. Let's see, I don't remember the order. So, it was eye surgery. I've had my wisdom teeth removed. I had this exact same surgery that I just had years ago. I had my appendix removed, and now this surgery again with my nose. I think I explained it last time of what I had done, but I will express again what happened to my nose, which was a 3-part surgery. I had my deviated septum undeviated, so it should now be straight, which I guess according to the surgeon who shared with Shelby, my roommate, also Queen Shelbeast, is her Twitch and YouTube handle. You should follow her. She'll be streaming, actually, this evening, some Bloodborne at twitch.tv/Queen Shelby's. Check her out. Check me out. I'll be trying to guide her. She's currently on Blood Starved, who is a fun one. Speaking of shout-outs, before I get into what the hell they did to my nose, a lot of hustle and bustle has been going on in the news. A lot. So much is happening. Yesterday, Jerry Springer passed away at the age of 79 from cancer. I forget which one. A lot is happening government-wise as far as people who want to run for 2024, which is scary. Just the thought of it is scary. God, what the hell else is happening? I don't even want to open up a browser just because it kind of makes me sad. I will say this much, though. The world of sports, specifically the NFL, is kind of going topsy-turvy. And the reason for that is because it's draft time. And the draft is actually now, like, I guess, starting to be selected. I don't go that much in detail of sports. You know, I'll watch it, I'll comment on it during the season. The sports that I will watch is, you know, football, the NFL. I'll watch hockey. I'll watch soccer. I'll even watch, you know, soccer-football, you know, European football. Because that last grand championship match, oh, that was great. That was great. I'll watch boxing, I'll watch MMA, but I don't like follow the nitty-gritty details of like statistics or who's being traded or anything like that. I just enjoy watching the sport. So, with that said, and with the sports that I watch, yeah, I'm from Illinois, so I root all Illinois teams. So the Chicago Bears, the Blackhawks, White Sox, then Cubs, the Bulls. And then since I've moved and lived in Indiana for a while, my roommate and her family, born natives of Indiana, you know, there's a little bit of college basketball in there, you know, the Pacers and what have you. That's fine. I don't mind rooting for them either. But again, I don't get into the nitty-gritty of everything. So, when I do want a little more nitty-gritty, I do listen to one particular group, and it's only for the NFL and it's only for the Chicago Bears, just because I kind of got into them a little bit. And the podcast that I would like to shout out as far as catching up on anything and everything Chicago Bears is the Bears Down Chicago podcast. I'm sorry, the Bear Down Chicago podcast. The reason why I shout out to them is because they do a lot of good stuff. It's done by 4 people whose names you would think I'd have memorized, considering that I'm also their vocalist or their narrator for their introduction. Let's see, Brian Dangle, Brendan Shagrew, let's see. Yeah, here we go. Ryan Dingle, Jack Wright, Brendan Shagrew, and Patrick Sheldon. And Logan Bradley. So it's a group of 5 dudes who talk and host this podcast. And they have a bunch of notable and reputable people who come onto the podcast as well in order to be able to talk shop with the Bears inside and out. So if you're a Bears fan and you want a little more information as to what and why is going on, speculation, etc., check them out. It's the Bear Down Chicago podcast. They're found on basically all platforms. Apple Podcasts. Pretty sure they're on Google Podcasts. They're on Spotify, Podtail. You just Google them. They'll be found. So, yeah, those are my shout-outs for now. Anyway, so that's happening in the world. Meanwhile, I'm ignoring all that because the only thing that I can focus on this past week is my nose. Oh, it sucks. So, everything went fine. The surgery went fine. There's no complications. I don't have to go in and get anything redone. Nothing of that nature. But the 3-part procedure was that the deviated septum was, straightened. The turbinates have been reduced. So, yay there. And then they did a Clarifix cryotherapy, which is, freezing a nerve in order to lessen mucus production. That was the trifactor, the hat trick that they did in my nose. And luckily all went well. And this is what I want to talk about, is that if you find yourself with a broken nose or with any type of nose procedure, as difficult as it is, because we are stubborn creatures and we do not like being told what and how to do, the best thing you can do is listen to your friggin' nurse. Your nurse is your best friend, and she wants you to not bitch and complain as much as possible. And the best way to do that is to listen to her and follow the instructions which she provides. She or he, whomever your nurse is, follow their instructions. Mine just happened to be a she. So, yeah, after I got home, which again, thank you, Shelby, for taking care of me, I had to follow specific instructions. And I still have to, even a week later. One of those instructions, at least within the very beginning of the surgery, is that I had to essentially stay up at a 45-degree angle. So just almost essentially sitting upright all the time. Just because if you sleep on your back or on your side or just lie in that position, so much fluids would just get drained down your throat that you'd essentially be choking on mucus and blood. or have that pour down your throat. Yeah, it's going to get descriptive. You can't handle it. I'm so sorry, but this is the podcast. We're going to talk about the body. We're going to talk about medical stuff, and the body, as potentially amazing as it is with all the shit that it can do, it is equally, if not a little bit more, disgusting. I do not like the human body. I think the human body is flawed in many ways. I think the human body is gross. It's oh, God. It's neat at times. But God, it's gross. It's stupid. So, yeah, you gotta stay up at a 45-degree angle. So, luckily here in the studio, if you've seen my live streams at twitch.tv/fapisnplace, there's a recliner here in my studio, which is in camera shot. I was basically hunkered there for like 4 days. I hardly moved, just because if I moved, it just worsened the situation. It encouraged the mucus to just be produced. Worse than that is that not only was I dealing with things and going down, my throat, I had to put things into my nose. Saline solution, Afrin. Those were the first two things that I had to deal with, in addition to keeping track of pain medication and an antibiotic, which reminds me I need to take that. I'll do that after this recording. So, I was just stuffing and spraying so much this and that into my nose in order to keep the nasal stents moist. Just because if the nasal stents became dry, then it just made things worse. It hurt. You could feel when it's dry, because then it would rub inside your nose, and that tickling not only burned, but it also make you want to sneeze. And guess what? You can't sneeze for 2 weeks out of your nose. You have to sneeze out of your mouth. And apparently people do that naturally. I do not. I've always sneezed out my nose. So I have to go against habit and sneeze out my mouth. And that hurts my throat, which is probably why I always generally sneeze out my nose. So that sucks. Another thing that I can't do, I cannot bend over. I can squat. It's all about that elevation thing. 45-degree angles. Keep yourself upright. Do not bend over, because again, that pours the fluids to places where it shouldn't be going. Another thing that I can't do, can't lift 20 pounds or more, just because of that exertion, that pressure of carrying too much. People strain and squeeze, and that causes pressure and blood to rush to your nose. Can't do that. So I was basically just a miserable, fluid-taking, fluid-draining potato. Chair potato. Recliner potato. It was difficult to sleep. My God, sleeping was horrible. The only way I was kinda able to sleep was, they gave me Oxy for pain meds, which I really don't like. I don't understand how people can... And this is just me speaking, and everyone's different. But for me, I don't think I'd ever actually... I think it would be very unlikely for me to get addicted to oxytocin. And the reason why that is because I do not enjoy the feeling, nor do I enjoy the dreams which are induced when I am under that medication. It's not great. I don't like it. It's very fleeting and hallucinogenic. It doesn't allow proper rest to happen. It'll knock you out, sure, but it doesn't actually have you wake up feeling restful and ready to go. Sure, fine, good, great for pain, for being able to fall asleep. That's its purpose. I understand it, but for long-term solutions, no. Not for me, anyway. Something else that I had to do, especially almost immediately after the surgery, I had to have a gauze stash. That's what I was calling it. Just because there was so much drainage that was just coming out of the nose. I basically had a bunch of rolled up gauze that kind of looked like blunts, but a little bit bigger. Taped it up so that it wouldn't unravel or unroll, and just taped the sides of it rather long so that it would be along my cheekbones and just right under my nose. Oh boy, those things looked like used tampons after a while. It was bad. It was bad. Oh, and my diet. So they said that I could go back, essentially, almost after 24 hours, if that, I can go back to my regular diet. No, I could not. It would have been too much, because you can't breathe. You can't, properly chew solid foods. It was difficult. So my diet essentially consisted of water, flavored water, and chicken broth. And even then I did have oyster crackers, but I would put the oyster crackers in the chicken broth, let them soften a bit so that I can easily and quickly chew them and swallow them so I can continue breathing out of my mouth, because you can't breathe out of your nose because there's literally no room between the nasal stents and the swelling and everything coming out of it. I'm not mad, you're mad. So, even kind of still to this day, I've only had 2 meals which were actually quote-unquote solid foods, and it hasn't been much. It was within the past week, only 2 evenings have I had meals of, solid food. So, yeah, and hardly any alcohol. So I've primarily been on a liquid diet. Last Tuesday, they removed the stents, which are a lot bigger than what I thought, especially from what I remember. My God, they're huge. So I was dealing with that and just trying to get back to, because once the stents are removed, then you stop using Afrin. Instead, what you do is that you irrigate the system with, a little bit of salt or whatever, and you flush out one nostril, like a neti pot, except I have a squeeze bottle. But you essentially do that in each nostril because you can't blow your nose for 2 weeks. So next Friday, with discretion, I'm able to blow my nose. But, it cannot get here soon enough. So, yeah, listen to your nurse. All this sucks. I'm beginning to dislike the nose extremely as a result of this recovery. But it'll all be worth it. It'll all be better. It's like I said, the surgery isn't the problem. The surgery is fine. You're put under for that. It's the recovery process that sucks. And here it is. At least I'm 1 week down. 2 weeks until things get quote-unquote mostly normal again. But it isn't until a month down or something or other that you have the official breath of okay, everything's great, everything's fine, go back being you. So, that's basically that. And here's the thing. Listen to your nurse goes for anything and everything. Your nurse is very well endowed in the knowledge needed in order for you to get back on your feet and to recovery. My sister has been a nurse, oh my goodness, I want to, not officially, but she has been within the medical field acting as the position of a nurse for nearly 2 decades now. She's been a nurse for as long, if not longer, probably longer than I've been playing French horn. I've been playing French horn for 2 decades. So she knows her stuff, and it's because of her knowing her stuff, and it's because of her being a nurse, and it's because of her coming home with these stories from work when, her and I were still under my parents' roof of so-and-so this, and so-and-so didn't listen to me after that. And I can just hear her. When I want to do something which would break my nurse's instructions, I can just feel her shame, be like, oh, you can do it, you're just going to fuck yourself over. I'm like, fine, I won't then. So listen to your nurse. Follow what your nurse does, or instructs, rather. They don't want to hear you bitch. And they certainly don't want to hear you bitch when it's your fault. Period. They don't want that. They don't care for that. They want you out of their life as much as you want them out of your life. And it's not supposed to be a long-term relationship. So, as far as the podcast goes, as far as streaming goes, there actually is some news that I neglected to tell last podcast, which is rather important, because it will cause delays, not only with the podcast, but also with my streaming schedule and just life. And that is that we are essentially being forced, we as in Shelby, my roommate, and myself, we are essentially being forced to move, to vacate our current place of living. We are not being evicted. We've done nothing wrong. What has happened is that the current owner of the property which we live in has decided to sell to another owner, or soon-to-be owner, and as a result has decided to not renew the possibility of another lease through the leasing company who is acting as, the middle person. We pay the leasing company talks to the property owner. We were told that this is something which would not happen, and yet here it is. Lies from the property owner. To both of us, to both parties. To the rental property and to us. So, we are being forced to move. Luckily, it looks as if we have found a place, and we have secured a place which is only about half a mile away from where we currently live. But as a result, and with just us having to move in general, that's going to take time out of our streaming schedules and the podcasts, just because we have to break everything down, move it, set everything up, and then, getting everything to work again. I don't know when my studio is going to be up and running. Certainly not into the magnitude which I have now, but we may be able to add some improvements upon it. We'll see. Time will tell. I also have no idea how the hell I'm going to get this desk out of here. Got dismantled and shit. So, I'll keep you updated as far as when and if the next podcast is going to come out, or it'll just be like normal and a podcast won't come out, and I'll come out next week and be like, hey, excuse me. Hate surgeries. Hate recovering from surgeries. I'll be like, hey, sorry about that. This is what's happening. This is why. I'll at least try to give you all a half hour's worth of a podcast. Try. Because there are things that I still want to have Shelby on here, because her and I were wanting like once a month to like go in depth and break down like the story and the characters and the interaction of characters. and the history of Miyazaki games. And that hasn't happened yet, just because life has been nuts between ourselves and our mental attitudes in the beginning of this year, and then her finding her current job and then getting fired from the other one, and then me leaving my previous place of work and now finding this job. It's like at the point that we find ourselves to be in a good, stable position, or at least a hopeful, stable position, something has to complicate it. And this something happened to be you're being forced to move. Again, not evicted. We didn't do anything bad. Just you're being forced to move. And, yeah, at least with the next place, we're not sharing a wall. It's not an apartment. We will be renting a house. So it'll just be us, our own yard, 2-car garage. It will be an actual house. And it's the first time since she and I have moved out of our parents' place that we don't have to share walls with a neighbor, that we will both have a place in which to park our vehicles indoor, that we will have a yard that we will have to tend to ourselves, which is fine. I don't mind mowing grass whatsoever. I mean, I clean the gutters here anyway, because that's not really a service which I don't think they provide. So, we're looking forward to getting to the new place, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done in a very short amount of time. So we're just still waiting on final details to be tended to, and then we will tend to the moving. So, I guess that's it, really. I don't have anything else really in which to voice. I hope you're doing well. That was the process, and that was everything which has happened with the surgery. I'm just trying to get better, and the only way that I will is through following my nurse's instructions and time. Trying to make things go money-wise with the new job and sales and this and that, and then, yeah, just gotta move, unfortunately. So, I guess that's that. Email the podcast. Give me topics of suggestions, articles of interest. Just say hello. You can do all that at fsofpodcast@gmail.com. I'll be streaming, hopefully, tomorrow on my own Twitch channel, twitch.tv/fapismplays. Check out Shelby, also known as Queen Shelby, Shelbeast, rather, at twitch.tv/QueenShelbeast. And as I mentioned, if you want all Bears news, Chicago Bears football news, check out the Bear Down Chicago podcast. They come out every week with something new, a new guest, etc., etc. They're a lot of fun. A lot of knowledge. And that's it. That's all I got. I hope you take care of yourselves. I plan on doing another podcast next week. I don't have anything which should intervene with it, especially as my voice tends to, hopefully, be a little more recovered next time you hear it. Less nasal, less congestion, and a little more control. Less coughing and sniffling, too. That'd be nice. So, thank you for listening. I'll see what I can do about getting the podcast posted to other platforms other than YouTube. Again, a lot's on the plate right now, as is with everyone in life. So, keep listening, stay in touch, keep practicing. Good night, sleep well, and sweet dreams. And until next time, au revoir.